In this video, I want to quickly go over how we made the bed frame in our van. It's super simple but very useful and space maximizing. I threw this bed together like a week before we were leaving on our first road trip, so I didn't get a chance to film too much of the process, but it's pretty simple, so I think you'll get the gist of it. So my main thought process when designing the bed was I knew I didn't want to have legs in the middle because I wanted that to be a completely open storage space. So in order to do that, I knew I would need at least a 2x3, which is what I went with, turned up like this way to create that support for the bed. Because if the boards were turned this way, it would bow. And since I was going to have boards turned this way anyway, instead of wasting that space that's right there, I decided to go ahead and build a storage compartment inside of that space. And I use 2x3s, so there's not a lot of space in that area. But if you wanted to have a bigger space there, you could use 2x4s or even 2x6s to have that big storage underneath your mattress. So the boxes around the wheel wells on my van are like the very first thing I built. Don't really know why, probably just because I didn't have a plan at all, because I'm not very good at planning things from start to finish. But those were the first thing I built, so I was kind of designing the bed around those. Because I already had a box here and a box here. I designed the bed frame to fit down between those because I didn't want to go any higher. There are definitely better ways to do this, I'm sure, but I'm just showing you kind of the basic concept and how I did mine, but I'm sure you could tweak it and get a much better design. So I wanted to have a compartment on the front and the back so you don't have to reach all the way across to get to stuff. So the first thing I did was cut 4 plywood panels out of 3/4 inch plywood. My van is by no means square because I'm not a craftsman and it's a van. So I just did lots of measurements to cut these to where they would fit down between those 2 boxes I had over the wheel wells. And then those 4 pieces of plywood are the top and bottom pieces to those compartments that I built. I ended up with a little bit of space in the middle between the 2 compartments just because of the way I had to cut the wood and didn't want to buy a whole nother sheet. So I just got a 6-inch board and cut it down to fit in between there. My next step was to attach legs to the bottom of the plywood panels at all 4 corners on the 2 bottom pieces. I wanted to do this before the actual 2x3 structure went on so that I could easily just screw through the plywood into the legs. And I just drove 1 screw into each leg because I didn't need them to be especially sturdy at this point, because once I got it in the van, I was going to be screwing the legs into those boxes that I already had in there. So I just needed them to be attached to the plywood and not fall off, basically. And I just used cheap 2x2s for the legs. The next step was to build the actual frame for the bed out of the 2x3s. And for this, I just built 1 big frame around the whole edge of the bed to connect both sides. And then to make my 2 compartments, I just added 2 cross beams in the middle to make the back walls for those compartments. And also add some extra support in the middle of the bed. After that, I added that 6-inch board that I got to connect the 2 sides. That just laid halfway onto each of those 2x3s that I put in the middle. And that is also what I used to screw on the hinges that would be the top panels, which serve as the doors to the compartments. So the next thing all I had to do was take those top 2 pieces of plywood that I had already cut, lay those on top, and then screw in some flat hinges between that 6-inch board in the middle and the plywood panels, and then I have doors. And that's it. Just a really simple way to build a bed frame and also have some really useful storage compartments. We ended up using ours to store all of our Reflectix panels that go on the windows, because when you pull those off, they're kind of cumbersome, but you can just fold them up real flat and they fit perfectly in one of those. And then the compartment on the back, we just kept all kinds of tools and cables and just kind of emergency supplies you might need on the road while you're traveling. We could keep those tucked away back there and not have to think about it until we need it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am by no means a skilled craftsman, but I hope this will at least inspire an idea for your own build, and I'm sure you can come up with something even cooler. Sav, I don't know how to end the video. Yeah, but what do I say to end it? Okay, that's it.